Well, the court's in session. Our resident lawyer, Despina Priala, of boutique law firm Priala Legal in Runaway Bay, with us each and every Thursday. She brings her legal expertise and provides some general advice on all sorts of hot topics. In fact, we were just talking about all the hot topics that'll be coming up between now and Christmas. Will we get through them all? That's the question. She has experience spanning more than 25 years in the area of property and commercial law. She also prepares wills as part of estate planning and litigation. With us once again. Hi, Despina.
Hi, Wayne. Hi, Brooke.
Good morning, Desi. Welcome back. So first off, a lot has happened, especially in the state of Queensland, since we last spoke last week. And one big news story that's hitting headlines across Australia are the tougher penalties for dog owners in Queensland. A few articles, I think, have blurred the lines maybe just a tiny bit over the past week. So we wanted to touch base with you and get your insight as a professional lawyer. What is the update for Queensland dog owners?
So my understanding after looking at this the last few days is it is not yet law. So what that means is these proposed new laws, which we're going to talk about a bit this morning, they've been passed, but they're not yet law. So they're not coming into force as of yet. So that's probably the first important thing to say. I believe it'll be only a matter of time. And the reason I say that is that these new laws about harsher penalties for to dog owners, I should say, in relation to dog attacks, essentially where they cause serious harm or even death. It's been in the making for a while, and it's been pushed very much by a few people. One of them is the Honourable Mark Furner. So Mark Furner is the Minister for Agricultural, Industry Development and Fisheries. So he has been the person pushing this. Behind him, of course, you've got the RSPCA, which was another body that was also pushing for these changes to occur as a result of hundreds of dog attacks throughout Queensland. And my understanding, if I am correct, is that Queensland, of all the states and territories in Australia, was the only state not to have imprisonment, so jail time, for these serious offences as a dog owner. And now apparently we're going to be brought up to, I suppose, speed and have the same benchmark as the other states and territories. Typically Queensland, don't know why, is always the last state, or I won't say the slow state, because I love Queensland, I live here. But it always seems to be behind everybody else, and we catch up eventually.
That's it. Make sure everyone else gets all the problems out of the way, and then we just sail through. Yeah,
let them test it out.
That's it. Yeah,
exactly. Maybe it's a good strategy. I don't know. You have to talk to Queensland Parliament about that. But in any event, my understanding of what these new changes are, it comes down to trying to create a deterrent for irresponsible dog ownership. That's what we're really talking about. And I suppose the theory behind it and the principle behind it, I'm all for. I think that dog owners need to be more responsible overall, because there has to be a reason for all these dog attacks that have been occurring, haven't there? And I'm not necessarily blaming all of the dog owners that every single attack is necessarily purely based on irresponsible dog ownership. But when you have so many, the government has sort of piped up and looked at what's going on, and all this push behind from these relevant parties have said, look, enough's enough. And I think we need to make some changes to these laws. And if I can say, and I suppose I'm a little bit passionate about this, I've been around for a few decades now, since I was born many years ago, and I've always had dogs around me. So we've always had dogs in our family. I've been around dogs all my life, and I like to think what responsible dog ownership is, and I've seen what irresponsible dog ownership is with other parties. So I think this is probably a good step. I don't think it's going to resolve all the problems. So, and why is that? So let's talk about what's going to be happening. So they're going to have penalties, including up to $108,000 fines, or up to 3 years jail for the owner of a dog that causes the death or serious injury of a person. So that's pretty major. So what they're saying is, look, that's pretty serious. We're hoping it's going to act as a deterrent for the future.
For sure. And that particular law is in place in the other states, like you said. So everywhere else, people would go to prison if there was a serious attack or death.
Yes, that's my understanding. So they want to increase the penalties for the most serious dog attack offences. So that includes the imprisonment option, which currently we don't have.
Yeah.
Now, the other change that they are proposing is a ban on restricted dog breeds. Now, that's a little bit controversial, if I could say, because some people, particularly the RSPCA and the AVA, as you mentioned off air, Brooke, that sort of have come out and said, well, I don't know if that's going to really stamp out the problem, because having a restriction on certain dog breeds, what will that do? Will that necessarily stop the problem? Will it mean that, does it mean that only those dogs are the ones that attack, which I do not think is correct at all. So again, it comes down to irresponsible dog ownership. If you are a breeder of the American Pit Bull Terrier, which is one of the restricted dog breeds that they've listed, you can manage that dog really well. You can be an irresponsible dog owner. I think that's with any breed. And I think any dog there's always that inherent nature of a dog, that they're there to defend themselves, to protect themselves if they feel that they're being attacked. For example, if you take your dog walking out and you're being responsible, it's on a lead, you know how to control your dog, but you've got, a family in a park somewhere and they allow their young child to just run up to you without an adult and start wanting to pat the dog. Well, hang on, you're not being irresponsible as a dog owner. I think the family would be irresponsible to just allow their child to just run off, knowing there's a dog on a lead in a park. So I think it goes both ways, that everyone needs to be more educated, basically, about, responsible ownership of dogs, but also when you're out and about and you see dogs, to not just allow your children to go up and run up to a dog and try and pat a dog, because that dog is a dog. Obviously, it's not a person, so it doesn't know what's happening when you see this little person, this little human, running up to this dog at its level, and they're going, oh, is this an attack? Do I have to defend myself? Yeah. So I think there's more to it than just putting these laws in.
Yep. And of course, we're talking about pure breeds here, but what about in the instance where they're apart, say half and half?
Breed,
yeah. How's that going to work? Do you know?
Well, exactly. So if we talk about the dogs that they're mentioning here, you've got the American Pit Bull Terrier, or Pit Bull Terrier, as it's commonly known, on the restricted dog breed list. You've also got Dojo Argentino. You've got a Fila Brasilio, probably not pronouncing these correct, but that's what's listed. Japanese Tosa, I'm aware of the Japanese Tosa, and Pereiro de Presa Canario.
Okay. Some fairly exotic names there, yeah.
Yes. So they're the ones listed. But that's right. As you say, what if you have a dog that's, a mutt, that's a half-breed, that's half American Pit Bull and half Staffordshire? I mean, there's crossbreeds happening all the time. Well, what do the laws say about that? So I don't know if the laws actually cover those particular circumstances. So I'd love to read them when they are available for me to have a look at, to see if that's the case. But it seems to me that it's not a knee-jerk reaction, but the response, and I think it's good that there's been a response because of the dog attacks, but I think it's limited in some ways, and I suppose it's easy for you and I to sit here and say that, and we have our own views. But I think that maybe it could have been, more options given to try to create these new laws to stamp out and create, I think, the safer community. That's what they're talking about. This is very much about the heart and soul of communities, making sure people feel safe when they go out. So, very much for that, but maybe they should have thought about a few more things.
I reckon perhaps so. If there are issues where there are these mixed breeds, and you might start seeing people trying to get underneath the law by saying, well, my dog is not a purebred, therefore it's not covered under this legislation.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So when these new laws were proposed, behind the scenes, as I said before, there were just under 4,000 Queenslanders apparently that completed a survey, and more than 300 written submissions were received through a 60-day consultation period. So I don't think there was much media attention about that was happening in the last year. It sort of flew under the radar. And now, as the policy is, you go into a survey, you get some community feedback, then you want to propose new laws. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it depends on who's behind it and whether they've thought out all the possible scenarios. But now it's been passed, and apparently we're just waiting for it to actually become law. And you know, the government's reacted to Queensland wanting urgent action. So this is their response. So we'll have to wait and see if it's going to work or not.
And do you know roughly your vibe when it comes to, I guess, how long it will take till we actually see this law and the royal assent passed?
I think it's going to be pretty soon, because from what I've read, it's about Queenslanders wanting urgent attention. So they've said, look at us. We've done the right thing. We've listened to Queenslanders. We've taken surveys. We've taken feedback. We've got some other community feedback from other stakeholders. Now, look what we've done. Great. So I think it's going to be pushed through pretty quick. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Despina. And it seems like Queensland's very proactive these days, because our next topic is the sunset date law reform in Queensland that has been passed. Despina has the details coming up on Talking Law in just a moment.
Are you confused about legal jargon? Do you need legal advice but don't know where to turn? Tune in to Talking Law with Despina Priala every Thursday morning at 8:30 on Radio 97. Despina, a leading lawyer with over 20 years of experience, will demystify the law and provide practical advice to help you navigate legal issues. Whether it's a family matter, a property dispute, or a business concern, Talking Law has got you covered. Don't miss out on this valuable resource. Tune in to Talking Law with Despina Priala every Thursday morning at 8:30 on Radio 97.